Go. Bye, guys. All right, let's go. All right, never mind. Intro's done.
We're going live on 26.
26 means go.
As one does.
It was really good, though.
That music, too.
That was going to be a
Try-
long one.
Do you want to try that again? Hang on. Let's try that again. Again. Never mind.
That music.
We're professionals.
We are.
Please start that in the middle of this.
So now we know that quality of work isn't important to advancing your career. What is important? How's that for a second? Look at that.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
there you go.
welcome, one. Welcome all. Today's webcast is brought to you by screwing things up, I guess. All right, so
Kelly
want to
can
welcome
select
everybody.
manager.
Yeah, want to welcome today to our webcast our newest team member. Her name is Tara. Tara, thank you very much for joining us. Would you give us a quick background, a little rundown of you and everything?
So I've been an IT manager for a long time. Wow, shockingly, I can't believe it, actually. So I worked in broadcast for a long time with Kelly. Actually, that's how I'm here, because of Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. I've done a variety of different things, but mostly IT management. I've been here 4 days, and I've broken everything I've gotten my hands on.
Well done.
Right, Josh?
Can confirm.
Yeah. And
Well done.
what else? I love people and Jordan.
Because Jordan's almost people.
Almost. I'm kind of like people.
You're similar
Judging
to
from the
people.
chat, you have quite a few fans of your own as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
for
I
sure.
said in the pre-show, I collect nerds. I amass nerds, and I take them wherever I go. That's me.
Well, they're here with us now.
Yes.
That's
Love
right.
it.
You
I love
cultivate
it.
relationships.
I do. I'm big on networking. Big on networking. I'm very big on building up my team, providing a career path. I love that. I'm very into that.
Add me on LinkedIn.
Can we
Okay.
take a few
Who?
minutes to appreciate Andrew's smooth transition into relevant topic.
No,
Yes.
which is great. And to be honest, Tara's background is one of the reasons that we wanted to do kind of a webcast like this, because there are a lot of people that we know that our audience consists of people that are brand new in IT, that have been there a few years, or, we have a lot of management people. And a question that is asked frequently is, okay, how do I go from, where I am to where I want to be? Is it a matter of gaining certifications? Is it, what is it? And as we thought about that question, we realized we've got people here in the building that are really, that have been there, done that. I mean, Josh has an extensive IT background. He's managed a lot of folks and hires a lot of people. And so we thought, let's chat with Josh. And Tara the same. And Jordan's had a great career. And he's had a very interesting career path as
I
well.
go out of my way to avoid advancement.
Well, in a way, yes. I mean, you know what you want to do in IT.
So no, I went into IT because it's always going to be there. And then I ended up in automation because there's a lot of things I hate and I want to make it go away.
And then you ended up
And
a
then
star.
people are like, hey, this is a valuable skill. You should come talk about that. And here I am.
Yeah. And then, and talking about skills, Andrew recently gave a presentation in at the PowerShell Summit in Bellevue, kind of talking about soft skills. And a lot of times I think in pretty much any industry, soft skills are somewhat overlooked, but they need to be developed. And I think they're some of the more important skills that we should develop. I don't
Would
want to
drinking be considered a soft skill or a hard skill?
it's kind of both. Depends on what you're drinking.
Fair enough.
A seltzer or a liquor?
That's okay. Fair.
So I kind of
Drinking alone is technical. Drinking socially is a social skill.
there you go.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I wanted to kind of start with with Josh and Tara, because when you're looking to hire someone, what are some of the things that you look for when, let's say, a resume comes across your desk?
Oh man, resumes are hard.
Yeah.
Right. As I've had the opportunity to go through tons of resumes, you can see people that have this laundry list of certifications or formal education, and it looks really, really good on paper. And that resume really does kind of get you through that HR roadblock or that first screen. But I don't take a ton of stock in a resume just at first glance. right? Sure, it helps maybe prioritize the pile, but that's about it at that first glance. I really get to know candidates on that first maybe 30-minute informal conversation. And the things that I'm looking at more in that informal conversation are the soft skills that, Andrew wants to talk about. I want to see if someone's a critical thinker. I want to see if they're driven to learn. And the technical part of it is actually so much further down the line that it's cool to see it on paper, but that those soft skills are the first thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and with those soft skills, I actually like introducing the term meta skills, because these are skills that you take with you everywhere, whether you're troubleshooting AD, whether you're troubleshooting a network, whether you're dealing with an issue with your ticketing system or documentation. You will use the same consistent skills of communication, problem solving, so on and so forth. And if you can demonstrate a high level of that, that's going to be a person who's enjoyable to work with and who there's kind of a future there.
Absolutely. I think technical skills, you can always teach someone. Not always. Most of the time, it's easier to teach a technical skill than it is to teach a soft skill.
The
I
intangibles.
think that depends, because people have an aptitude. Like someone that's just normally outgoing is going to adapt to soft skills very easily. I guess generally in IT, you're not getting people that are outgoing often, or maybe less often. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I think we should just kind of put a caveat on all this. We're talking very broad generalization.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask next, and maybe Andrew, you can speak to this a little bit. Soft skills. When we say the word soft skills, what are those type of things? What specifically? What are we talking about?
Well, that's a great question. And I think that there's actually a slight amount of controversy regarding the term soft skills, because what is soft about them? What's hard about other skills? And I think you mentioned earlier that soft skills are some of the most important. So when we're talking with soft skills, oftentimes what kind of comes first to my mind is just general emotional intelligence, which if we have IQ, you can think of emotional intelligence as your EQ. And IQ is more of a fixed number, whereas your EQ can be improved over time. You can increase your emotional intelligence, which would be your self-awareness, your social awareness, your ability to form and establish relationships, and your ability to just kind of communicate at large and understand yourself and how you can kind of operate best, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and how you can set yourself up for success.
And I think you always have to remember, especially in IT, generally when you start out, if you're on help desk, you are going to be interacting with end users. And so there are certain levels of people skills, I think, that you need to develop and cultivate. And that can be, easier for some people than others. I'm an introvert. Jordan's kind of an introvert. If I don't necessarily have to deal with somebody, I don't. But it's a skill that I think you can learn.
Yeah. I think it's kind of fun. Almost every IT job is a customer service job at some point. And even no matter where you're at in your IT career, it is customer service at its core. You're helping someone with a problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even when you're super back end and you're like, I just live in Active Directory administration and I don't have to see anyone, the people you're serving are all of a sudden the people on the help desk.
So
Yeah, you're a mentor.
I don't know how common this is, but I discovered on my time on help desk that I could say things that would get other people in trouble and people just laugh it off. I don't know what it is about me, but that helps. Whatever it is that makes it so I can be inappropriate and no one cares, you got to get that. That's a skill that will help you out.
It's funny. Kathleen just kind of called me out. I'm an introvert, says the man on a live public webcast. But it is absolutely true.
That's true. I think
yeah.
the same thing. He's so out there. He's got that large personality, but
That's not what an introvert is, though.
He does want to stay in his office.
It's
It's
how
true.
exhausting it is to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I'm an introvert, but I get up in front of like 800 people a week doing shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's draining. It takes it out of you. So it's kind of the
I
difference.
think
Do you get your energy from being in front of people, or does energy get sucked out of you
Oh,
and you have to recover
Yeah.
after it by being around people? And that's, I think, the difference between a high level definition or explanation of what an introvert versus extrovert is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Scott's question a lot. How can a resume show soft skills? Because I have no idea. So let's go to the soft skills people.
It can't. And I think I was listening to Josh. I'm a lot more picky on the resume because I think you can learn a lot. Like, as I'm looking through resumes, if you put 5 paragraphs for every job, I'm like, oh,
So
I
it's
can't even finish reading it.
almost the hard skills will get you the interview, and during the interview is when you want to show the soft skills, I guess.
But
Yeah, for sure.
But that is showing soft skills. Like if someone gives you 5 paragraphs on a resume,
Yeah,
they're
like
showing that they don't know
garbage.
the audience.
Yeah,
they
for
have
sure.
they have poor communication skills
Yeah.
because they don't know what that person on the other end is.
Yeah.
So
Brevity, guys, brevity.
you
Or
are
if you-
demonstrating those soft skills.
If you just
Yeah.
put, I'm good with people, test me.
Yeah.
You might
Well-
get some curious people to go, all right, let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
But for me, like looking at not show me that the job you worked at, and then show me a project you did. Show me how you led that
Yes.
project. Show me how you communicated that project. I can learn a lot about you from your resume and your soft skills from that method.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is when I'm inevitably fired, I have a fantastic soft skill resume on the internet. Just because
You
I've
just
been
show 'em
doing
your
this.
videos.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Make a
you have that.
playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be another way to show it on your resume, though, would be through things like if you have a public facing blog, or if perhaps you're active on GitHub and have worked on a couple projects, if you have a link to that, who your prospective employers could look and see the way that you communicate with other people on GitHub issues or things of that nature. If you did a podcast or have done any public speaking, those things can do a little bit to show like, okay, this person I may feel comfortable with them talking to, for example, the CEO and not be worried that they're going to embarrass our whole team.
Yeah. One thing I started doing a few years ago that I think is amazing is I do a little tech test during the interview, or usually the second interview, and I have that person meet with an end user.
Mhm.
I want to see that experience, and that's really how you find out how they're going to be. It's not obviously that's not exactly how they're going to be, but it gives you an idea of how they're going to interact. And then I talk to the user after. And I say, "What did you think? How did you think they did?" It gives you a more true test of how they're going to react.
Is it a real end user?
Yeah.
It's not a plant. It's not like
No,
you're.
and
You're
I
brave.
I purposely, well, you know what? I've
Yeah.
hired the best people of my career doing that. I find a really techie person and I find a really non-techie person because that's going to give you a better gauge of their skills.
We've almost about Austin got it in chat. Just include your TikTok in your
in
resume.
your resume.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I think one of the most important IT soft skills is to be able to talk technical
Mhm.
to a non-technical
Yes.
person.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Well, that's the thing, because most of the end users you're dealing with outside of this company are going to be non-technical in nature, and they don't know what you're talking about
Mhm.
at all. And,
No.
but they want to. I mean,
yeah, it comes down to know your audience. So know
Now
how to-
think about it. The way back when we did the more of a gauntlet for the interview, they gave me a coding assignment they knew I couldn't complete in the time frame,
Mhm.
just to see how I would react to not finishing the assignment during the
Mhm.
interview. I didn't even think about that. That's kind of a soft skills test there.
oh man, for my Star Trek peeps, that's like a Kobayashi Maru test right there.
Yeah.
I how I handle all things. I'm very open about my failures.
Yeah.
Well, let's say that okay, somebody does get in, and they've started their IT career. They're either help desk, whatever it is, and they want to advance. They want to go. What would be the next step, I guess, and how do they get there? I mean, are there certifications that you recommend? How does that process work, or do they have to jump ship?
So this is one I have pretty strong feelings about. And every company is different. Some of them, they bring people in the help desk to keep them there, and you're not going to get an opportunity to move up. But the way I moved off was availability. When the sysadmin came by, said, "Hey, I need an extra set of hands for this." I didn't always have time, but I never said, "No, I can't do this." I said, "I can't do it at this point or as I finish up this task." And the availability to help out gets you the right eyes on what you're doing.
Mhm.
So that one helps. I don't know, maybe certs. I know diploma. It's never helped me get a job, but it has been used to prevent me from getting a promotion,
Mm.
which doesn't seem compatible. But
Hmm.
company I worked at 2 years in a row denied me a promotion because I didn't have a degree, and I do. And like, "Oh yeah, we'll catch you next year." They never got me next year.
Oof.
I-
um,
I think that a good first step if you have a job currently is to, at the very least, start a conversation with your manager about kind of what you want. And maybe your current role isn't able to provide you everything you want, but you can know then, instead of perhaps not ever saying anything to your manager and just kind of blindly suffering and then moving to another job and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think a good manager makes that decision, Kelly. Like, do you stay or do you jump ship? If it's a good manager, you can have those open conversations. This is what I want to do in my career. Help me get there. What does my career path look like? Great.
Yeah.
If you cannot have that conversation, then I've almost universally seen if you want to move up, you got to move companies, and that's just it's rough.
It's interesting too, because we were talking about this yesterday when we were just kind of chatting about today's webcast, and how it used to be on a resume, if you saw people jumping from job to job every like 18 months to 2 years, that used to be a red flag. It's, in my opinion, it's not so much anymore, especially in the IT space, because that has generally been the path for advancement now.
Maybe she's watching this, and I won't say her name, but I interviewed someone earlier this week for a role here. And on her resume, she did have a few of those, like, hey, 18 months, 2 years, a year, these jobs. And obviously it's a question in the interview, like, hey, talk to me about this. She was super honest, and I was super impressed with her answer. She said, I ran out of runway. In paraphrasing, I ran out of runway at these jobs where I wasn't learning anything new. I wasn't growing professionally. I wasn't growing technically. So I had to move to continue in my career. And to me, that just demonstrated that she's absolutely driven. And it was like a huge green flag for me.
So I was recently in a discussion where we're talking about how long we've been at current jobs. And my 6 years here was notable and thought of as weird. Because it's just the IT jumps around so much that 6 years isn't the norm. And I mean, just part of that's my desire to just find where I'm comfortable and happy and stick it out because I love it here. But most people, after 2 years at this point, it's almost weird in IT to not try to move on.
Well, I agree with you, Josh. That is a good answer, and I agree with you, Jordan. But that's also bad management. If you find, I like to call them unicorns. Those are the people that are technically proficient, incredibly smart, but also can interact with humans and are great. You keep those people.
Oh, yeah.
You build a career path for them, and you hold on to them. And any manager, in my opinion, should be doing that. You keep those people no matter what.
You know what? And there's a lot of folks here in the chat. Craig, 18 years. Bill, 27 years. Alexander, 12 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there still is that opportunity, I think, in some situations.
It is dependent on the company. Right?
It really is. And we were talking yesterday about advancement within a company, and we are a company that does believe in hiring from within in certain, positions. I can't even tell you, we used to call our solutions department, we used to call that the farm club, because all of some of our dev people, automation, they all were pulled from solutions people because they were really good people and they were driven to do more. So Josh, for example, if you have somebody that is looking to move up at PDQ, what type of things are you looking for?
So this conversation usually happens in an interview because a very common question that a candidate will ask is, what's your favorite thing about the company you're working at? And mine almost always universally is PDQ is a choose your own adventure book. And it certainly is. And so when I have someone on my team or has joined my team, those are career conversations that we're having pretty regularly. What do you want to do when you grow up? And it's a lighthearted way of saying, like, how can I help you? And in many cases, it's okay, well, these are and then it's a hard conversation as a manager because you need to say, well, I need you to do your job now. Like you were hired for this role, but I understand where you want to go. And let's work together on a roadmap. What does it look like? What is the next step? What is the job requirements of what you want to do? And how do we get there? How can we demonstrate that you can do that? What do you need to be able to learn? Is it formal education? Do you just need some time out of your day to be able to do X, Y, Z? What is it? Those are the conversations that have really helped me in my career, and finding managers that are willing to have that conversation with people is rare, and it sucks.
Well, you got to be honest, and it's hard to have that honest criticism and say, I know you want to do the fun stuff. You want to do the shiny projects. Oh, you want to learn Power Automate. Oh, no, go do that help desk call and then come talk to me.
Yeah.
That's hard to have those kind of conversations.
The chat's making me into a liar out here.
Why?
Everyone's like, 20 years minimum. Like everyone's got 20 years apparently.
I know. This is pretty good. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
But you can't have those real conversations until you've established, a real relationship. Where
Yes.
these soft skills become really important because you need to have a real relationship with that person that reports to you to be able to have this real, sometimes difficult conversation.
So it's almost like there comes a line where you have to decide what you want more, because once you move into management, I'm not saying your tech is done,
Thanks,
but
Jordan.
Well, that brings up a point that you said earlier this week, Jordan. You don't think that you have to be good at tech to be a good IT manager?
not at all. It helps.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, go into that. Why do you think that?
because to me, the best manager I've ever had, and you'll see why you're lacking on this one, Kelly,
That's true.
is they're like Willie Roaf, left tackle for the Chiefs. I used to watch him. He's 330 pounds, a massive dude, and he would be 30 yards down the field, knocking the crap out of defensive backs so Priest Holmes could score. And Priest Holmes gets all the credit, but all of the roadblock was cleared by Willie Roaf. And so management is, to me, their offensive line. They go through, they knock out roadblocks and let their people shine. So to do that, you don't need tech skills. It helps because being able to speak the language and move it on that way is not hurting at all, but it's not necessary for the role.
Well, you need to be able to understand at least the problem space. And if you don't understand it, you need to be willing to learn the IT problem space so you know what roadblocks you should be clearing and to be able to do that effectively.
Yeah. So if you don't know tech and you're a manager, you better hope you have hired honest people.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they will take advantage.
Well, and there's also on the employee side, I guess, there are different advancement paths, kind of like what Jordan is saying. There are some people that want to go into management or a supervisory type of role. There are other people that's not appealing to them. In fact, that would be a miserable job, but they want to continue to advance in IT. This might be a good place to, I'll see if I can bring this up. Okay. So this is a salary range slide. This is
national.
These are national averages. So just be aware, this takes into consideration Tupelo, Mississippi, birthplace of Elvis, and San Francisco, right? And so these are some national averages. And it can kind of help understand, all right, if I take this path, here's kind of what I might be looking at making. If I take this other path, I may make a little bit more, if I become a CTO or a CIO. But at that point, the problems you have are completely different. And to be honest, you're probably no longer in day-to-day IT. I mean, you're just not.
Those numbers are so low. I
Which
know it's
ones are
national,
low?
but I see all of them.
We had this conversation yesterday, and Chet's having this conversation now.
It's comically low.
Well, and someone says this is from the 90s. It's actually not. These are from national sources that we get, but you have to remember they are broad in scope because there is going to be sometimes a difference between what you're being paid in finance in San Francisco versus education in a very rural area. So that's why there is a big swing there. But like sysadmin, Josh, you were, and Tara as well, you were saying you haven't hired a sysadmin for lower than what, 80, 85? I don't know.
So no, it seems extremely low, even by any standard. I don't know if I agree with it.
Look,
My favorite part is entry-level CTO. How do you become entry-level C-level employee?
Yeah, I know.
What's your first C-level gig?
I'm brand new to being a chief officer.
That's the first one.
Well, and that brought up the conversation yesterday, and I love Josh's terminology. What is a sysadmin? Because that was my question. I'm like, no sysadmin I know is going to make that much money, but Josh has a term that I love called, what'd you call it? Accidental sysadmin.
Yeah, not going to make that much or that little.
That little.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? I meant that little. Yeah.
So we've kind of talked about the person getting in. We've talked a little bit about someone who's been in for a while who wants to advance. One area that I think we should really focus on is what managers should be doing to help those employees advance, whether that is in soft skills or hard skills, mentorship, things like that. What's your experience as IT managers, and how do you help your employees advance their careers?
So my favorite part about my career is I don't have an answer for this because I'll never be in management. You guys have fun. I'm gonna
but see, that's the thing. It boils down to being honest and having those discussions, like Josh was saying. When Jordan and I talk, I know Jordan does not want that path, which is okay. And so we focus Jordan's skill set on where his passion lies, and that makes Jordan more happy. And we like a happy
I
Jordan.
mean, that's the classic thing that you need to do as a manager, though, Kelly. Like, you manage a very technical person. And I mean, you're technical, even though you say you're not. You understand way more than you say you do. But you're playing to someone's strengths. You're having that meaningful conversation.
Mhm.
What do you want to do? How can I help you get there? And it's not just the hard skills are actually the easier ones, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a question here. In your opinion, what certifications or skills are hot today, and is there any low cost or free training?
I do agree with Austin on the CCNA.
Yeah.
That one seems to be the one where it's updated and you have to refresh it enough, because some you get it, and then like 10 years later you still have it. Where CCNA, I think it's 2 years.
I don't even remember. But a CCNA is great because you just build the fundamentals of networking. Yeah, it's a vendor specific cert where you're going to learn like Cisco iOS, but you're going to learn the fundamentals of networking as a whole.
Everyone wants to be a system administrator or a network engineer.
Uh-huh.
I swear, that's it. So what I do as a manager is just what Josh said, is I get to know the person. First of all, you got to have a relationship. How can you help them if you don't know your people? And then I'm a big believer in having reviews. I put it on paper.
Oh.
We have discussions. I say, this is what you want to do. Okay, well, here are the areas I think you need to work on. And if this is what you want to do, let's get a path. Let's get a success path. And I'm big on mentorship. I like to find out, as Jordan painfully is aware, I like to get to know everybody in the organization. If he says, I want to do this, okay, well, this guy over here is really good at it. Let's get you guys together. How about we set that up? You want to learn this? Okay, let's figure it out. And then follow up.
Yeah, it's really easy in a performance review that happens once, maybe twice a year, to have that conversation because you're forced to have it. But where I see most of the time where failure occurs is the between.
Yeah.
There's not that continual conversation.
Yeah. No, I put it in writing in the
Yeah.
performance review. I never stop talking to them, Josh.
Exactly.
Never.
No, I know you do, but I just want to make that very clear. Like, you cannot just have this conversation twice a year with your team.
No. And that happens more often than not. You'll go through that review process. You'll set goals. The next time you look at them is during the next review. You're not going to make progress with that. Now, I hope this doesn't embarrass Jake, but I want to use Jake as an example, because Jake has great, his skill set is outstanding. He knows video, great at editing, wants to advance his career, right? So we're in a review and we're talking about things. What can we do? And Jake takes the initiative and says, I have found a course on digital marketing online that I would love to take. It's going to help round out my skill set and become more valuable to the company. And I'm sitting here going, this is freaking awesome. He wants to improve. He's gone out and done some research, and that just shows me how much he wants to continue to get better and be an asset to the company. So did we, help with the course? Absolutely. Because that's an investment the company is going to make that's going to pay us back.
Yes.
So it's just having those conversations. And then, Jake, did we used to follow up occasionally? It's like, so how's the course going? We would continue to that conversation.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to add to that. Is like, looking at the poll here, it looks like most people, so over 70%, are sysadmins and not managers. We've been talking about this from a manager. What can you do? You can do the same thing as a sysadmin. Like, if your manager is not providing these things to you, you can manage up.
Yeah.
Right. You can start these conversations. You now have the tools to be able to kind of drive that conversation the way it should go. And that's another skill. The soft skill is managing up.
So it's Justin Grody quote is, we go to manager with a problem and a solution, not just a problem. So if you want to do something, that's what Jake did. He said, I want to move up, and here is something that can help me get there.
Yeah. And another person I've been very, very impressed with like this is Andrew. Because Andrew, you, buddy. I think Andrew knows where he knows where he wants to be. And, from everything I know about Andrew and your interaction with Jordan, Andrew proactively takes steps to further his career, within our company and even on the outside. I mean, Andrew, you're continually improving.
Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely an important part, I feel, of my career to always be kind of vouching for yourself at the very least. Because I've had other times in my career where I've kind of put in hard work and kind of just waited for things to magically happen. But oftentimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You need to start conversations in a polite, a respectable way and say things in a way that people want to listen to, and, listen when they talk back and create relationships and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's like most people say, that the relationships are the key to their career. And I definitely find that to be true, and harnessing and maintaining those relationships so that this week I can reach out to Jordan about something and also set the foundation for our relationship such that he can give me good feedback and I can also come to him 2 weeks later and I haven't burned a bridge.
Yeah.
My best skill is know what coattails to grab, because I'm taking Andrew's success all the way to my own. It's fantastic.
Well, there's a couple good comments in the chat. A good manager will help you with your career path, even if he can't offer the position, and even if it may result in you leaving the company eventually. I totally agree with that. And then Bill is a manager and a sysadmin. His biggest job, though, is providing resources for the people that work for him, and he supports them and therefore supports the company. I mean, those are hallmarks of good management.
So we did kind of gloss over the question on the certs, though, because we did cover CCNA, but the big one that seems to be in the chat especially is anything that is for web space, like Azure, AWS, or anything like that seems to be the most. Or I guess it depends where you want to go.
So I think in the chat, like, we've kind of nailed this down a little bit. Like, certs get you in the door, and certs can show a level of experience and able to do something. So they're fantastic. I don't want to discredit a certification at all.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and this is strictly that, experience trumps all in IT.
And there was one other question in there of what's going to carry more weight, experience or cert. And I think having the experience or having the certs are going to get you the interview. And then it comes down to who handles that part better.
I think with the cloud specific certifications, they do a pretty good job at making sure that for the given certificate that you're getting, you can actually perform those job roles. So at least for the Azure and AWS space, I know that if you're looking to get into some kind of administration, jobs do put some good value if it's like an Azure AD specific role where it's limited in what you do, which to me is different than it used to be maybe like 10 years ago when I was kind of getting into IT, where it's like the certs can kind of prove a little bit, but maybe you can't actually do it. Whereas like the cloud certs are pretty legit there.
Yeah, I think Brandon calls it out here. Certs haven't meant much to me at all. I've done none, and I run circles around super certified sysadmins.
I have no certs either.
Yeah, I've seen people with an alphabet after their name and can't do anything.
And that's the thing. There's no static, but certs do show that you're willing to go and put work outside of work to better yourself, which I think is an important skill set to have. But it doesn't mean that you are the expert of that skill.
I went through a training, Scrum Master training. Did all that, got to the end of it, decided I didn't even care to take the test. So I'm not certified, but I went through the whole training, and the only reason I did it, I wanted to better understand the process, and that was good enough for me.
I had a similar experience. What I did, I started my career, I started on the help desk like everybody does. Realized that I couldn't learn more at work. And I didn't know what I was interested in. So I signed up and I paid for a CCNA course, took CCNA. Then I was like, okay, I like the cert thing I'm learning, and it's guided education. So then I went and got a VCP. Both of them are expired. But then I got interested in product, and like Kelly, I took the certified Scrum Master and certified product owner.
Yeah.
Took both, took the exams because why not? It was included in the thing.
Yeah.
All of my certifications are expired. But what they did give me was a guided education, and it helped me refine what I was really interested in.
Brandon has an interesting observation. I think, Jordan, you kind of mentioned this. If anything, I've noticed that certs have been locking people in bubbles. Hey, can you go fix this dude's keyboard? Things like that. So, I guess there is that downside.
Yeah. I think when it comes to certs and in my career, I've asked myself, like, am I having conversations with like interviews for jobs that I'm interested in? If not, I need to keep working on the education side of things. But kind of like Josh, now that I'm at the point where I can get job interviews and I can show my technical prowess by like just talking to people, it's just not really worth that effort. I'd rather solve real problems with the technology to learn it.
I could say based on just passion, if they had a PowerShell specific cert, I'd go get it. That's just because why not? I know a lot of the like the AWS or the Azure certs include a lot of PowerShell now because it's mandatory to do the job. But if that one specifically is like, do you know PowerShell? I'd get that cert, and that'd just be for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I started my certification path, halfway through my CCNA, I was like, this is awesome. I want to be a CCIE when I grow up. I want to be a CCIE. And then by the time I finished it, and I realized I'm really not good at networking by comparison, I learned, and that was just my formal education to dip my toes in without having to take a huge career leap to be a network admin.
My college degree is in networking, and I have never used it.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, we're just about at time. Interesting conversation, but final thoughts on any career path, any hard skill, soft skill, anything that you would like to share that may advance or help someone advance in their career.
I have a thought.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. With emotional intelligence and the soft skills side of things, they're definitely worth putting some time into and kind of assessing where you are and what you need to work on. And emotional intelligence often leads to a larger salary and career expectations. And this is partially because people with good emotional intelligence are aware of their own needs. People typically enjoy helping them, and they'll also be able to reach out for help from those who can offer the useful advice and support. And this ultimately leads to mentorship and a better career. So definitely invest in those skills.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's okay to say the things that you're bad at too. I think that's really important, a sign of growth and maturity. And I think Josh and John remember when they interviewed me and I said, don't talk to me about networking. I will literally cry. Remember that?
I do.
I'm like, don't even talk
I
to me
do.
about it. I'm bad at it. It's okay to say you're bad at stuff. And
Rather
sometimes,
than pretend you're good at it.
yeah, don't pretend you know something you don't. Sometimes a job is just not meant to be. There are plenty of jobs out there. If you keep fighting and the management's not listening and you're understaffed and underpaid, go get another job.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
So first of all, from the interview, all I remember is you said you don't like PowerShell, and I'm still processing that. But outside of that, the important thing is for the final question on how to move up is come up with something that you think you want, work with your manager with it. If they're willing to work with you, you're in a good place to get there. And this is a big one. If you start doing it and it's not what you thought, don't be afraid to say, no, this isn't for me. I want to try this instead. Just because if you start down the path, you think you have to finish it and you're miserable, you're just going to hate your job.
But
the
that will end badly.
The important thing is to have the conversation with the manager of where I want to move, because either they're going to help you and it's going to advance your career, or they're going to make it real clear that that's not a place you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My last thought is, as a manager, like a good chunk of your job is to get people where they want to go, but realize that responsibility isn't always just your managers. That's a two-way street. So don't just rely on a manager to get me from A to B. There's a lot of individual effort that needs to go in there as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Interesting discussion, and hopefully this has helped somebody get a little more direction in their career, or as a manager, maybe it can help you know how to help your employees, because that's a big part of what you do as a manager. Next week, at least we're hoping, fingers crossed, if the machine comes back to life, we'll be back in the studio. It is PD Q&A, so get your deploy inventory, smart deploy questions ready. We'll be able to hopefully answer those for you. Right, Josh?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Normally I would have a little outro here, but since the intro didn't work, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the end broadcast. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you back here next week.